Hello there and welcome to the Glow Up Method. This is the place, the freaking space for you to discover everything about you. This is a place that you go on this journey, you embark on this crazy, mad journey to find a life that makes you proud. You create that. This is the whole goal here. We are living independent of what everyone else is thinking of us. Hi, my name is Natasha, and I am so grateful to be here with you today. Is there a day? Is there a freaking day that goes by and there isn't some kind of drama in the life and diary of Natasha over here? Like, I say all this to say, like, I say that a lot. I say all this to say, but, like, it's not lost on me. But, like, it could be a drinking game. I say all this to say, no, today's been a little bit of a tricky day. It's been a little bit of a challenge. God's, like, a tricky night with Chris last night. So as I'm reviewing my stuff to post, what I posted yesterday is we're in the thick of the time where Chris still had a girlfriend and, was still talking to me. Like, it was just the thick of a really tough time. And it's really hard to be, 6 months removed from it and know the journey you went on, but it still, like, makes me so sad for that version of me. Like, it makes me really proud of her. But I know, like, I look right now at the side of my bed where I would just sleep broken and unsure if I would land in this space. I didn't know how I would get to where I am right now. And let me tell you, like, my project is on route. I got really cool blueprints today, and I'm like, holy crap. Like, this idea in my mind is like something I can tangibly, physically see. Crazy. I freaking don't have a hanging belly anymore. Now, again, I have a hard, big, swollen belly, but, like, I'm trying to be really grateful for the fact that, like, I don't need to lift. There's nothing to lift up in deodorant anymore. Like, if you know, you know. I had to manhandle this skin, tuck it in places. Like, wearing jeans, I look like I had a butt in the front and a butt in the back. I mean, I just don't wear them. And, like, yeah, I'm not there where I'd like to be yet, but damn, I don't have to deodorant my belly. So let's give props to that today. Like, hell yeah. I have concerns about finances, which I always do. My relationship with Chris has evolved tremendously. He has been my head nurse, my right hand man in this. It's been a difficult journey for me. I have not always been a happy patient. I've been impatient and I've been sad and I've been in pain, and there's times I've been mad and there's times I've nearly been dead and he's been there. And so I give him that. And then, last night, so my daughter posts this video, right? And I don't know, for whatever reason, I don't know if she blocked me. Something happened in the TikTok algorithm. I cannot see her, right? So I send the link that she sends to me. I send it to Chris to show it to me. And I was like, okay, well, maybe if you send it to me, I can see it. Like, maybe it was something there. So I went to share. And when I went to go share, for some reason, the girl that he was talking to before, she shows up as, like, the third person in there. Like, it was like two of my son's accounts and then her. And it just, I was at the end of the night. I was not in the mood. I was pretty confident that he had blocked her and unfriended her. Maybe he just unfriended, maybe he didn't block, and that's why. And it just pissed me off. Like, and then three people later, it was me. And it was just like, are you still talking to her? Like, I had just had this conversation with my daughter about how there's no coincidences. Everything happens for a reason. We get these signs. And so I'm like, is this mean more than it is? Like, if this is, then you should not be moving in here. Like, listen, I don't have time for this. And I wanted to have, like, some clarification. He was like, you're just being jealous. And I haven't talked to her since December 31st. Blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, and he went to sleep. And I was just like, I was pissed. And then I was like, get me in your phone then. Like, let me see. Like, I'm trying to understand, how are you friends with her still? Like, why is it she's even showing up? And I'm staring at his phone and I'm like, I'm not this person. Like, I don't want his passwords. I don't want to look. I don't want to be with somebody I have mistrust in. He hasn't given me any reason to mistrust him. But then I see this shit and I was like, excuse the lingo, I was irritated. I was like, what is this? Like, I'm not in the mood for this. And he has just put a notice to like move back in here. We're trying to figure out ways to like logistically get everybody a space and a place in here and not have Chris and I be crammed in a 10 by 10. Now listen, I'm already making this my studio, my running room, my bedroom, my chill zone. You mean to tell me there's going to be two of us in this 10 by 10 box? We may not survive it. Not in the summertime. The winter, maybe. But the summer, it is a Sahara desert in here. Like, it's so freaking hot. Anywho's Vales, I was like, no. And I sat there staring at his phone and just couldn't understand, like why this had transpired. And I felt heated. I left the room. I went up to my sons, just chatted with him about stuff to just, not this stuff, but just their stuff. And just to chill myself out. Came back down. He was asleep. I just kind of read for a minute and then went to sleep. I was like, I'm not going to lose sleep over this crap. He sends me a message today, that he was hurt, blah, 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 blah. I didn't get time to read this thing. I was taking my son to get his haircut. And the next thing you know, he sends me a text. And he's like, honestly? And I was like, okay, where are we going with this one now? I don't even know what to think. My nephew just died. And I was like, what? What? His nephew is 36 years old. His nephew, bless his heart, like, has had such a difficult journey. He walked in one day coming home from school with his mom and his sibling and found his dad hanging there. His mom was an addict. He was in and out of foster care. There was very little to any stability in this young man's life. We would send gifts every once in a while, and it was like heaven to him. He has two young children, excuse me. At one point in time, the daughter, I believe she was the oldest one. We were going to adopt because there was this whole thing because, of course, history often repeats itself. And he fell in love with an addict. And that mom is no longer in their life either. So he has full custody of these young children. One is 13, one is 11. And now they have an addict mom who hasn't been in the picture for years and a father who passed away today. I can't. Like, it just, he had a difficult life. And he decided to drink. He became an alcoholic. And then when he did this, chose this path for himself, it was pretty much all he ever really knew. He damaged his liver, so much so that he needed a transplant. He was on the transplant list for 1.5 years. And unfortunately, he began drinking again. The disease got the better of him. And then he was removed from the transplant list. And, something happened last night, and his oldest brother found him laying on the ground, and, he thought he was fine, put him into bed, and then this morning he wasn't well, so he called 911. 911 came, they took him to the hospital. While they were trying to repair what was broken, his heart stopped. He's 36 years old. He has a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old whose life right now is completely and utterly changed. And so, again, then I look at my story and I'm like, how dare I? How dare I, even feel ungrateful at all in these things? Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to get 6 people privacy in a 3-bedroom house, and we're struggling to do this, right? This is my problem right now. Besides trying to heal, and as you can tell, I got it. And over here, there's this other family, and they're doing everything they can to keep those kids out of foster care. Thankfully, they knew their uncle because their uncle's lived with them for the last 8 years. So he's trying to now become their custodian so they don't have to follow in that same legacy of going into foster care. And it breaks my heart because I know Chris has been in foster care. I know, like, how difficult that must be. I know for me, my mom was the same thing. She wasn't necessarily an addict. I think she did drink, and I think she did do maybe some other things. I'm not really aware of what she did when she wasn't with us. But she wasn't there. Just like for these two kids who are also 2 years apart, they're not there. And so I can really put myself in the shoes, because I remember, and I've said it on here before, my biggest fear in life. Like every night I would pray. I was like, I don't know who's out there and who hears me, but please don't let anything happen to my dad. Because if something happens to my dad or something happens to my grandma, like, we're orphans. Like, I watched Annie on repeat. I actually loved the movie, but I was terrified that I would be an orphan like Annie. And this was like a legitimate fear. And there would be a Miss Hannigan making me clean, and I didn't want to do all that. It was mean to me. It pulled my hair. And so I would worry about that. And so when I like witnessed my dad overdose drugs in front of me, and I witnessed these things, it was really hard, because I was like, oh my God, am I living my biggest nightmare? Is something happening to my dad? Like, it's just so crazy to imagine what these kids have now do. And to think of the young man who has lived such a tormented life. He didn't ask to be born into that situation, nor did the parents do anything to intentionally like harm him, right? They didn't know. They're doing the best that they can, given the skills, the tools, the time that they have, the energy. They're trying to survive too. We all have our demons. We all have our vices. We all have our insecurities, and we all have a choice. At the end of the day, we all are faced with challenges, and some of them, it may be to drink or to not drink today. Some of them, it may be to overeat or not overeat today. Some of us, it may be to move or not move today. Some of us, it might be a sex addiction or a shopping addiction. There's so many different ways in which we seek pleasure to avoid pain. And what I can tell you is this: it's easy to blame the exterior. It's easy to say, it's Chris's fault I'm mad. It's Chris's fault I'm upset because he didn't properly block her. And now when I was just trying to forward me this silly video that my daughter posted that went like viral with like 3 million views suddenly, I just wanted to see it and laugh. And now I'm faced with this reality of what transpired 6 months ago. And I work really hard to not give that person or that relationship space in my head, because I came to terms. I chose to say, I forgive you. I chose to say that my feelings for you were so strong. And I know that with time, it would have evaporated. And I would always have care and love for him, but it wouldn't have been to that intensity, right? So I know that. I knew that. But I knew too that I didn't always show up as the best partner. I knew too that if I was going to work on any relationship, yes, Chris may not be my knight in shining armor. He may not be perfect. He may not always show up with flowers or a service with a smile or enjoy what he's, doing, or at least outwardly look like it. But he is there and he is doing it. And that gives me the grace to give him that space in which he executes it, right? It's not about me. It's not personal. And so I made that decision. He didn't make the choice for me. He didn't force my hand. I know, had we gone down the route, I would have gotten an attorney. He'd be paying my attorney's bill fees. We would be in a different place. I would be getting more money than I was. Like, I know. And I chose this path in which I'm honoring me, in which I was giving myself the opportunity to not ask 40 years from now, 20 years from now, 4 years from now, what if? I'm giving myself that opportunity to say, let's do it. Send him the sad emoji. Send him that you're feeling heartbroken and you didn't really realize you would. I didn't think I would. And yes, the electricity from the beginning is fading away. That's life, right? That's relationships. We all don't live on that adrenaline rush of the butterfly feelings in the beginning. It's work. And there are times that you feel that. And there's times I look over and I'm like, I'm so grateful because he was doing some stuff for me that I didn't want to do on my own self, right? Like either I was scared or lacked the actual physical energy to do so. He was there, and that has a value to me. That is confirmation I made the right choice. And he's here. He isn't interacting, but I had to ask because you see it and it's like, I'm not going to just ignore this. So again, we all go through things and we make our choices. Do we move forward on this path? Do we pick up the drink? Do we lean into perhaps Al-Anon or Alcoholics Anonymous or a church group or a friend, counselor, whatever it is in that time? Like, what do we do when we hit our rock bottoms? Because we have choices. And I know there's been times when I hit my rock bottoms and I'm like, give me that bag of chips. Give me that whatever's in the fridge. I'm going to annihilate it. I'm going to decimate whatever we have. And I'm going to feel like utter crap when I'm at the end of it. I'm going to do whatever it takes to avoid feeling this pain. And what I've learned in this journey, especially in these most recent years, is when you sit with the pain. When you're sitting with the pain, it sucks. I have a friend right now. She's having a rough patch. I love her. I adore her. Like, I have this, like, I need to get back to the gym because she needs my happy spirit to bring her up. But sometimes sitting with the pain is just what we need. And when we love somebody else, it's hard to watch them sitting in the pain. It's a real difficult thing to do, especially for someone like me. I'm a fixer. You either are a fixer or you want to be fixed because you're broken. But the thing is, no matter how hard I've ever worked to fix someone else, I've always failed. What I thought I did was win. What I thought I did was succeed because they're smiling now. They're happy. They have a different perspective. But at the end of the day, I never allowed them or myself to work through the process on their own. And so when we lean into our vices, instead of sitting into our pain, we lose the lesson. And when we lose the lesson, the test keeps repeating. And I'm not saying we fail, but it's a challenge. And each time we need to learn from these challenges. And so sadly, I'm so sorry that Chris's sister has to do the unbearable. To outlive a child is nothing I ever want to experience or know the feeling of. But one could imagine it'd be the toughest thing you can do. And it must be even harder because, when I see my kids make the same mistakes I make, it's 10 times worse. It's like I went through the experience, so you didn't have to. I thought I learned the lessons and shared it with you, so you wouldn't have to. And when you see your child go down the same path you did and have to experience that excruciating pain you did, it just seems so sad. And so maybe it's not that time that curse is ended with you. That perhaps it's the next generational curse or legacy that you end. And it's the person after you, right? The person that you influence that maybe has a better fate than you do. But I can only imagine the turmoil this mother is experiencing. And so I say all this to say, I say it all the time, life is fragile. It is filled with choices. I know it often doesn't feel like it, right? Like, I have no choice, but I have to pay rent. I do have a choice. I just might end up in court and with a, non-payment of rent and have a sheriff at my door. I mean, there's choices. And I feel like we often forget that we have more power and control of our lives. And when we feel out of control, we find these things that help us feel in control or help us not feel at all. And so if we really do that inner work, if we really figure out for us what makes us proud, what makes us happy, in what ways can we give back to others without detrimenting our own selves, we see this world with a different color lens. And when we see the world with a different color lens, we respond and move within it very differently. And so for today, I'm going to say an extra prayer for those kids. I'm going to say an extra prayer for his nephew, who is going to miss out on the chance of seeing them graduate, get married, have kids, all those things that we typically see in the cycle of life. And I really hope that those kids feel all the love around them that they need to forge a different path for them. That history is there to teach us. We do not have to repeat the lesson. We don't have to experience it ourselves. So I hope for them that the situation with their father will at the very least teach them. The situation with their mother will at very least teach them that there is another way. This does not have to be my fate or the fate of my children as well. So I say all this to say, please today, we never know what's going to happen from one day to another. Like I say it all the time, there's going to come a day and time in which we wake up that morning and we go to sleep, or we're just doing the course of our day and we don't wake up the next. And we never know when it is. And so for this young 36-year-old man, sadly, today was that day. And so I want to say, please, there's no time like now than to live a life that you're proud of. It is precious, even if I can't say it. It is fragile, and it is yours. It is not for me to judge or for the people around you to judge. They can judge all they want. But as long as you're being you and you're listening to your inner voice, there's nothing that should distract you from your mission, your purpose, your one and only precious life. So, despite everything today, I will say one more thing. And the funny, ironic thing about it was I was just at Chris's house 2 days ago, and right on his desk, Chris had taken out of his wallet 2 photos of his nephews. And they were from when they were like 10 years old and 8 years old, I believe it was. And he was going to send them to his sister, because his sister had been in prison and in and out of things because she was an addict herself. And I said, she probably doesn't have those photos. Me and my photos, very sensitive subject to me. But with all the moving that she did and the things, she probably doesn't have it. I'm sure she would really appreciate having those. And so he pulled them out of the wallet to send them to her. And so I was just looking at the pictures of them, wondering how they were. And I would have never known that within 48 hours that he would be taking his last breath. So I say this to say, please today, give yourself a big smile. Look at yourself in the mirror, flip, like I say, that phone around, do whatever it is you got to do to make sure you take a look at yourself in the eyes. Say, I love you. Celebrate you. Give yourself a big smile. Give yourself a compliment today. I am going to compliment myself that I have shared the story of my kids' cousins who my kids never met him. We live in different parts of California, obviously very different kind of lifestyles. So they never met him, but I wanted to share his story and his legacy and say, share his life with them. And so I'm really proud of myself for having the courage to have those really difficult conversations with my kids and to have my mother-in-law and things like that, and for Chris too. So I want to say that I like sharing people's stories for their good and for their lessons. And this one's a difficult pill to swallow. I will also say for you today, please, please, please go out there and give somebody else a big smile. It could be somebody within your house. It could be somebody on the street. It could be somebody anywhere. Like I say, if you're not getting out today, please take a moment and write a comment, a review, something positive out in this world. Let's put more positive energy out there. Please give somebody a compliment. There has never been a time, except for, sometimes we're like, oh no, that's not true. Like for the most part, when you give somebody a compliment, it hits different. And sometimes you are exactly what somebody needs to change their life around, or to at least feel good in that moment, in that day. So you may be the only person that tells them something nice today. So please use that to your advantage and watch how it helps somebody else feel great. And if it's behind the scenes online and you can't see them, that's okay. Just know in your heart that you are helping somebody else out. So I say all this to say thank you so much for tuning in today. Hug your loved ones. Live your life for you. This time is precious. So I appreciate that you've invested this much time in me, in my stories. And I hope that there's some kind of nugget of information to help you along your journey. So thank you for tuning in today. Bye.